next up, taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster inside of the vehicle. So first of all, I gotta say, I love the look of the digital cluster inside of this thing. It looks really, really sharp. We can find this in a series of other Hyundai vehicles as well. I just love the way that it looks. It is a little bit dynamic based off of different driving modes too. So, I mean, obviously, like, look at this sport mode. Oh, sport mode, eco mode, comfort mode. It gives it a little bit of a unique look, just depending on which mode that we're in, but it looks really, really nice. Like, I love my sport mode. That looks amazing. But let's dive through everything that you need to know about this. First things first, steering wheel inside of this thing is heated, and it's heated all the way around. I love the little styling, like all of the little metallic highlights that follow throughout the wheel. It is going to be a manual telescoping, so just by our left knee there, we've got a little release, in, out, up, and down as necessary. Once you've got that perfect position, you're just going to click it in order to lock it back into place. Let's go through everything. So we've got a stick on the left-hand side, and there's a little button right on the tip of that stick. A little selector switch, I should say, which lets us figure out what's going on with our lamps. I always just recommend keeping it in the auto setting there. We can flash our high beams out as necessary there, have it go into the auto mode as well. So when it's in auto mode, what that means is that if it recognizes an oncoming vehicle, it's going to dim your high beams and bring them back on again automatically. It's phenomenal versus just flashing them as necessary. Along the right side, we've also got, so this is going to be the control for our windshield wipers for the front and for the rear. So we can turn our wipers off for the rear there, high, low, off, etc. And we're going to pull towards us to get that front windshield wiper fluid going. We're going to push away in order to get the rear windshield wiper fluid going. So very straightforward there. We've got our paddle shifters there. So minus on the left, plus on the right-hand side. So if you want a little bit more of a dynamic feel as you're driving, you definitely want to play around with these a little bit. One big benefit is that, let's say if we're going downhill, you want to look at engine braking instead. You're carrying a heavy load, trailer, whatever the case may be. You're just going to drop down a few gears this way in order to essentially engage that low gear that we would traditionally find in some other vehicles. Now, going through all of the different buttons and things like that, there are so many things to cover off. This one here is our voice command prompt. So we'd be able to do things like change radio stations. We can navigate using our voice and things like that. We have a series of different commands that are available, but I mean, so many different things that are available inside of this thing, all using this button. It is also dynamic. So if we're hooked up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, we could also do a longer press. So small press and hold gives us our main voice assistant. Longer press and hold would either give us our Google or our Siri assistant as well, which is fantastic. We've got an individual mode button there. So that's going to let us change between our media sources. We've also got this little unique button that's going to let us change between a few things. So we can customize both of these buttons. So whether that's the main steering wheel button there or that custom button, we can essentially figure out what we want it to do. So do we want to reject calls? Do we want to do passenger talk? So talk to the people in the back side of the vehicle. Do we want it to pull up our map and a few other things? So we could customize this button to both of these buttons to more or less do what we'd like it to do. We can answer or hang up on a phone call there. We've also got our volume rocker, so we can go up and down with it. We can push in order to be able to mute. So we go up and down to increase, decrease volume, push in to mute out. From there, we've also got this in order to change between different presets if we want to. So we can see we're kind of jumping between there. If we do a longer press and hold, it's going to seek that way instead. So whether we seek or we go between presets is going to be a matter of a light lift up and down or a longer press up and down inside of this button there. Along the right-hand side, series of other buttons. So this one is going to turn on our smart cruise control system. So once we start driving, we just push this button to turn it on, and then we can either increase or decrease 1 kilometer or 1 mile per hour at a time by going up and down this way. If you come down to a complete stop, we push in the middle here in order to essentially be able to resume the speed that we were set at. We can push this button, and that's a distance indicator once we've got this system turned on. So it's how close or how far do we want to be away from the vehicle that's in front of us. And then this one is also going to be our lane keep assist. So it's going to keep us nicely balanced in between our lane as we go. So really, really great setting. And then we've got these two little buttons. So this one is going to let us jump between all of our different pages in the cluster screen there. And then this one lets us go up and down between different sub pages, or it's just our general OK button. So we've got a ton of options that are available there, but you can see when we press this, it actually brings us over to this screen instead. So we've got some basics that we can go through. So let's actually go through some of those basics. So we've got our main settings screen there. We've got our driving info. So as you can see there, our trip counter, since refueling or accumulated, and then our speed. So our drive info is based off of our current drive. So we turn the car off, we turn it back on again, this one resets. Our since refueling, so since we last filled up our tank, how far have we gotten? And our accumulated info is our total counter. And then we've also got just our generic speed. So if we want to reset anything manually, all we're going to do is just press and hold OK, and that just simply resets it there. So, I mean, you've got a ton of different options that are available there. And then if we press the menu button again, we move over to this route, it does say no route set. But one cool thing is that if we had a route going, so let's actually go to our map. We can see some previous destinations and a few other things. Let's cancel this. Let's go for a point of interest icon. Let's go to, I'm Canadian, so let's go Tim Hortons. And we'll go to this one. We're going to set as destination and watch this. Oh! Start guidance.
The route guidance will start now.
Right through the cluster screen. So we've got our navigation popping up there, which is fantastic. Now this one doesn't have the head-up display, but if it did, our base directions would also show up in the head-up display, which is fantastic. And then from there, we can easily just cancel the route if we want to, and it just brings it back to our generic compass instead. One more button press brings it to our intelligent all-wheel drive, so we can see which wheel is getting which amount of power there as we go. And then, so we can't go up and down, so there are, well, I guess two options there. So our tire pressure, in order to see the tire pressure, you actually have to start driving in order for that to display, but it's going to show you what the tire pressure is on each wheel. And then back to the main screen. So we have to hold OK in order to go to settings, so let's go to settings there. And there we go. And that's pulled up some of these settings. So it's essentially driver assistant settings now. So let's focus in on that side there, show you some basics. We've got our highway drive assist, and then our speed changes on top of that. Smart cruise control system gives us a few different options as well. So we can control the distance, acceleration, reaction on top of that. Moving back, oh, wrong one, I hit search. Moving back, we've got a few other things. So speed limit, which is fantastic. So what's going to happen there is that we can get a warning or an assist, or nothing happens. So what that means is that, let's say if we've got it turned on for a warning, if we get 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, it's going to let us know that we're going too fast. Our speed limit assist is automatically going to lower our speed for us as well, based off of our current speed sign recognition, or we can just have nothing show up whatsoever. But as we adjust these things, you can see we've got our speed sign that's going to show up inside of our cluster screen as well, or it just disappears when it's turned off. We can adjust our warnings. We've got our haptic warning as well, so a vibration if we start to veer over without signaling, and then some driver assistance settings. So if we start to veer over too many times without signaling, eventually that's going to tell us that we should probably take a break. So it's really, really useful setting. Some options for driver assistance. So we've got our forward safety, which means that the vehicle is automatically going to brake for us if it senses a potential collision. It can automatically keep us in our lane as well. We've got a blind spot system, so that highlights on our side view mirrors there. Lets us know if anybody's onto the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. We've got a blind spot monitor, which I friggin' love this. Watch us. Oh, that's such a cool setting. So I love that Hyundai vehicles have this thing, but seeing what's going on our blind spot right in the cluster screen, I think is absolutely brilliant. Like, yeah, we can still check our side view mirrors. We should turn our heads and things like that. It is just really cool to know that we've got the blind spot monitor right in our cluster screen. And then exit safety lets us know what's going on if a vehicle is detected in our blind spot. And then we've also got some options for parking. So we've got surround view monitors, so our full 360 camera as we go to park there. I want to look at this though. Oh, I love it. Oh, that looks really sharp. So we've got that full 360 monitor there, and then our park distance warning. So as we're backing up, it's going to let us know if we're getting too close to an obstacle, and then our rear cross traffic alert. So as we go to back up, if it senses somebody's coming perpendicular, it's automatically going to brake for us. So a ton of different options that are available there. But I mean, ton of options, but it's so cool all at the same time. And like I said, I love the look of this digital cluster screen. It looks really, really sharp. Factory navigation right in that screen. Head-up display is an option there on top of that. It's really, really great. Well, that was a look at the steering wheel and cluster inside of the Hyundai Palisade. What did you think? Really nice. I love the digital cluster screen inside of this thing. It just like gives it this, like, it's such an amazing look. I love it. Absolutely love it. But what did you think? If you have any questions, comments, not really sure how something works, drop down in the comment section below and let me know. I'm more than willing to talk you through any issues that you might be having. But if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up, share it with your social networks, and until I see you next time, take care.